Good morning, peoples. Let's jump in here and help you with Ymax, Ymag, and Ulty, my guesstimate. Some of these are fairly easy to decipher in the sense that Ymax has so many shares of all of the single stock funds, excluding um, crash, dips, and fiat. Now, remember, even on the single stocks, when a company first comes out, it doesn't get included into Ymax. After it's made its first payment and starts moving toward the next payment, it gets included. So Snowflake is now included. GDX was a new one prior to that, right? And then before that, Ybit. So you can kind of see down. So we'll be looking next month at Airbnb and others, but the inverse funds, I'm told, won't be included. My guess is when they get to 5 inverse funds, maybe they'll wait till 7, but very possibly at 5, they'll create a fund of funds around the inverse. All right, so let's jump in here to Ymax. And I want you to understand how I go about and do this. Somebody is welcome to do it. It's kind of a lot of work, um, but it's fairly accurate. The only thing that's not accurate is for us to try, anybody doing this, and calculate how many more shares get bought. We know on declaration date, which, by the way, let me go over here with this and show you. I don't want you to focus on the other stuff. So declaration date, 8/14, right? Here we are on the evening of 8/8. You have Friday the 9th, you have the 12th Monday, and you have the 13th on Tuesday before they declare. And you actually have the 14th to buy, but they're going to declare on the morning of the 14th pre-market, and they're going to look at how many shares are bought. Okay. So the total amount of shares bought is what determines um, what the final amount that they pay. So we go through a series of understanding, they allocate a certain amount of money every month. Okay. And they keep adding to their holdings. And then obviously, when a new one, like I was mentioning Airbnb, next month they'll buy up a significant amount of Airbnb. And then they add little bits along the way on these payments to add more shares. So once declaration is done and that day is done, then we start. But I waited this time. So I have the actuals from 8/7 and 8/8, and they actually didn't change much. But like anything, I think with the down market, people are hesitating. But what you'll see is maybe some on Friday, clearly some on Monday, Tuesday, and then even Wednesday, because people will know what the payout is. But honestly, if you listen to me or a few other YouTubers, we can get fairly close in Ymag and Ymax because we know what the total payout is for the holdings, and we know how many shares. It's just as people buy into the fund. The same thing happens, by the way, on the single stocks, right? They declare on those, they declared on 8/7, or sorry, 8/6 early in the morning. Then people had all day on 8/6 to buy, and then on 8/7 those single stocks are trading what they call ex-dividend, with the dividend subtracted. So a lot of people wait and buy on that date, and then they pay on 8/8. Once they declare it in the morning of 8/6, they're using everything through 8/5. They don't try to guess, well, how many people are going to buy in. So that's something somewhat unique, because I was telling people when I was doing Ybit that ProShares for Bitto, they announced theirs after the market, on a particular day and they call it declaration. Well, the next morning it opens up ex-dividend. So if you didn't buy it before, you don't get the dividend on a. I didn't check it on all of ProShares. I don't know if, well, first off, how many of their funds actually have dividends? A fair amount. And if they do they do that after the market every time like that? I suspect they may, but they have a massive amount of share count. They're one of the largest funds out there after BlackRock and Vanguard and a few other ones. I think they're in the top 10 or number 12 or something for ProShares. So anyway, let's jump in here. So some of the things that stand out to me is Tesla has 8.14% of the payment, right? Just by the fact that their share count and what they're paying. And on the other side, ORIC, right? The ARC single Yieldmax stock fund is 327. Look at Aptly even at 2.6. So as we go through, let's see who else has a big Misty 8.93. Even the GOAT NVIDIA for a while, who's not so much the GOAT at the moment, right? 6.41. Coney 6.79. Pepe 2.99. Let's see what the lowest is. 264, 262 JPMO. But they had a nice payout this month for them. Snowy 5.5, even GDXY at 4.7, 4.17. Ybit 5.5. They paid much lower this month. They've been paying close to $1. Okay, so what we have here, and this is how I go about figuring the estimate. We know that there are shares held. In other words, how many Ymax shares are outstanding? This is what Ymax holds, right? So we know how much money they have to distribute. So it's simply taking 15,225,000 and dividing by the amount of money that they collected. And what that tells you is 63 cents. Right here is where I do that math. This number, divided by this number. So 0.6340. So I could easily go out and say that's my estimate. But I'm trying to say my estimate now and my probable estimate. I'll do another one on the weekend, or maybe I'll do it after Monday trading. That I think it could drop as low as 56. But just knowing that it didn't change the last day or two, okay, I'm saying that it could get as high as 17,204,000. And if it does that, it will pay 50.5611 cents, right? And that's the variance. So we're talking 7 cents, a little more than 7 cents, 7.29, if you want to be exact, is what I'm calling for. And that's how we go about doing it, is just going through and seeing how many shares they hold. And then out of all those shares that they hold, what did they pay? And then coming up with a pay total, okay, that Ymax has to distribute. The only variable is how many more people buy into Ymax. All right, guys, so let's take Ymag next. And I have some old data, but I updated the new one. So on Ymag, their outstanding shares is 5,775,000. That's been static for almost 2 days since declaration. I don't have Friday the 9th, obviously. So I said 8 and 9, but that's they call the report after the 8th, they call it the 9th, and then the one after the 9th, they call it, the Monday date, and then the one after Monday, they call Tuesday. So it's always one day, except the one on Friday jumps all the way to Monday. So we haven't moved up, but this is what it would pay. It would pay 69 cents on this current amount. But I'm projecting that it will get to 6.3 million. again, we'll know a little more after Friday's data. But remember, you have Friday's data, you have Monday's data, you have Tuesday's data before they decide early Wednesday and announce what they're going to pay. The fact that people buy on Wednesday, certainly they can do that, and that doesn't change the payout. But literally, we have 3 more days of trading, right? Friday, Monday, and Tuesday before they make their decision, knowing those shares. So I'm saying we could add 525,000 more shares based on what has been typical. And I actually reduced this. Normally it would be in the 13 to 15%, but I lowered it a little bit because I think with this drawdown in the market, I haven't seen as aggressive buying. So we'll see. And also these yields and well, I shouldn't say the yields are that much lower, but the NAVs are lower, therefore the payouts are lower. That old thing of if I tell you a stock is $20 and it's got a 60% annualized yield, well, it's paying $1, right, on a $20 stock. And then if that stock drops to 18 and it still has a 60% yield, it only pays you 90 cents, right? So as the NAV comes down, these have been in the 40 to 44 kind of cent range. So let's go back. Let me do one more. So now you kind of see what the numbers are, but a lot of people want to know about Ulty. And I wouldn't say this is skill. I would just say the Ymag and Ymax, they're pretty much known. We know what the pool of money to pay is. We really don't know exactly what the pool of money is here, right? Because and we don't know how much they want to pay. What they've been doing with Ulti, and you see the NAV, is they're paying out of the fund. They're trying to pay the IV. Well, look at the crazy high IVs, right? When you see the same IV, it's the same company, right? Because this is a printout as of the close of Thursday of all their holdings. Well, they'll own a company and then they'll write calls. So depending on how many calls or whether they have any calls, you see it duplicated. But look at these IVs, 109, 140, 90, 142. This is the lowest one, 78 with Carvana, the used car retailer. So anyway, just a quick recap. American Semiconductor, Energy and Power Grid, Global Cellular and Space, Mediterranean Restaurant, family style, inexpensive relatively, Cava, CleanSpark, Bitcoin mining, and solar. They use all kinds of energy with their Bitcoin mining. Coinbase, which is what Coney is based on, a crypto exchange, right? They're not crypto themselves. They're the exchange where you go. So I mentioned Carvana, Elf Beauty, healthcare, beauty. I think they may. Oh no, that's somebody else at the cloud pharmacy. So Innovex, silicone type battery. They're trying to do the high output battery that doesn't catch on fire, that's more efficient. Um, just the government holdings here, money. Him and hers, that's the cloud pharmacy, healthcare, sexual aid products, just all kinds of things related, hair growth, hair loss, things that are popular. Retail broker, Robinhood. Everybody knows of Robinhood. And these are owned and I've been noticing this recently. So biotech, this one is Labu, is basically direction daily 3x biotech, 122% IV. We all know MicroStrategy, that's the underlying of Misty. So they have some SaaS, crypto software, business intelligence around crypto. And they, the quarter before they made a little money, they lost money. The software revenue is very small. Their claim to fame is A, Michael Saylor, their CEO, and B, that they're the largest holder, the largest company to hold Bitcoin, like 17 billion worth of BTC. Every time they do a refinancing, they put their entire treasury into crypto. So these guys, and it's paid off tremendously. NVIDIA, everybody knows NVIDIA, GPUs, artificial intelligence, really some leading edge equipment, infrastructure around AI. I mean, they're so backlogged. But as I've said before, the issue with them I see over a few years is just people catching up, the pressure. You know, hardware margins are much harder to maintain than software. I know people always tell me, oh, but Bruce, they have software. Yeah, they have CUDA software and it works, but they're by far a hardware company with some software that helps. Okay. You look at somebody like Palantir, and we lead into that, they're all software. So NVIDIA makes all of the hardware to process AI, and Palantir makes the software to do the workflow. So now I can take all of that, hardware that I need to process the way AI has to process, because it's not as CPU intensive as it is GPU intensive. Um, and now I can get a lot of workflow. It started with the US government. Now they're in hospitals, airlines. Palantir is just an awesome, awesome company, in my opinion, and will be probably the rock star. As NVIDIA fades, you'll see Palantir start taking the place there. Invesco, another QQQ, Reddit, online social chat, Sunruns, big solar company. What else we have in here? AI lending, Upstart. Now there's a few that come and go. If you noticed one in here 2 days ago, because what do? They write covered calls. They don't use synthetics in this platform. So they buy the stocks, they write covered calls. Sometimes they let it go. Now they have a choice of buying it back. Let's say you wrote a call and it ran over it by $1, but you made $10. Then they may buy it back for that $1 and write it again, right? So there are different strategies here, but sometimes they're happy to let it go. The worst thing that happens, you buy a stock and it just keeps going down. Now you got to write lower calls and it's hard to get out of that. So sometimes you just sell it and let it go and do a new pick. Okay, guys, let me jump back here. I know you don't want to hear all of that. So here's my predictions. So you can see it here. All right. So I went ahead and used my final, but I just want you to know the only one that's not any different is Ulty. It's not going to change. Doesn't matter what people buy. So I'm going to stick with 91.5 cents. Okay, that's an IV of 96. That's about what the average of all of their stocks are IVing. Okay, these guys, this 56 and 63, they're coming down right now. If nobody bought the fund, okay, Ymax would pay 63 cents, and Ymag, the Magnificent Seven, would pay 69 cents. But that's not what the prediction is. So an update, I'll just say, but they're pretty darn close. So look how much of a drop that is potentially. Let's go back and plug 63 in. Now, I'm using 88 closing price. Okay, so if they pay 63, that's a 42. But Yieldmax is going to pay, they've already collected the money. They're only going to pay that money based on that, whatever the share count is. So there's some possibility that this thing becomes 58, right? But I'm thinking it goes to 56. So we shall see. And guess what? Ymag isn't paying that much either at 40. I mean, the big payer is Ulty. But guys, look at that. Look at that NAV erosion. I've owned 300 since it was, $16. I just nibbled on it a little bit. And, it's a science experiment. They still don't have their act together, in my opinion. Am I selling? No, because it's such a small amount of money to me that I'm not that concerned with it. So that's what I got for you guys. Those are my estimates, and I'll update it probably on Monday evening. So 56 cents, a 37, almost 38% yield, 63 cents, a 40% yield, almost 92 cents, and a 96 percent yield. Okay, guys, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Have a great day ahead. Bye for now.